Krishna. Krishna Shiva. So I wrote a little something called. So, just like you, what's your favorite season? You like summer best. What's your favorite season? Spring. Some people like spring. Some people like fall. Some people like winter. They like to go skiing. So, because God is a person, and persons have likes and dislikes. So this is Krishna's favorite season. That's very interesting. Very interesting. And by Krishna, we mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The origin of everything and everyone. This is revealed in detail and described in detail in the Bhagavad Gita. You know some verses perhaps that describe this. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Krishna says in the 10th chapter, Aham means I. Sarvasya, everything prabhavo. Everything is coming from me. Mata sarvam bhavati. He is all-pervading, all-attractive, and an unlimited person who creates and maintains myriad universes, both spiritual and mundane. Yeah, that's from Brahma-samhita, yes. Yeah. He is not an Indian god. He is the Lord of all nations and their residents. Just as the sun rises in the east, but it's not an eastern sun, similarly, Krishna appeared in India, but he is the sovereign Lord of everyone and all. He is the proprietor of the earth and the beneficiary of all religious prayers, austerities, and service. And it is Srimati Radharani, his pleasure potency, his best servitor, who is the essential counterpart for his enjoyment. So the Gita philosophy, the Vaishnava philosophy, is that God, that supreme being, the creator of all the universes, can and does appear among us in various ways. He's not restricted to the heavens, but he can appear here within among us, and he does appear in his Archa avatar, or his deity form. God can do anything. We have that. God is omnipotent, right? You've heard that. Omnipotent means he's all powerful. So he can appear anywhere and everywhere as he likes. And another meaning of omnipotent is that all things associated with him has his potency. Do you follow? Omnipotent, all powerful. So one way, usually you think of omnipotent means somebody who's, can do all kinds of amazing things. That's one aspect of omnipotence. Another aspect of omnipotence is that all things associated with him, directly associated with him, have his same potency, omnipotence. So, like what? His name, his abode, his form. So, because these forms of Sri Sri Radha, Krishna, Radha, Sharad, Bihari are they're his form. They are none different than him. These deities are none different from and are Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Sri Sri Radha Sharad Bihari. It's a big deal. The Christian commandment forbids spiritual aspirants from worshipping graven images. Did you know that? That's one of the commandments. Cannot worship a graven image. So you know what Srila Prabhupada would say in response to that? You know? He'd say, the word image comes from imagination. You chuckle. I also chuckle. It seems like he's kind of getting in. But if you look at the dictionary definition, you'll find in the definitions, image comes from the idea of imagination. Yeah. And these forms of Sri Sri Radha Sharad Bihari are not imagination. But the forms are made just according to the Vedic literatures where Krishna's form is described. Venum tvanantamaravinda dalaya taksham barhavatam samasitam buddhasundarangam. He plays a flute. Shyamam tribanga lalitam yata prakasham. Threefold bending forms, blooming eyes like lotus petals. The color tinged with the hue of monsoon clouds. So the forms of Krishna are described in the Vedic literature coming down from time immemorial. And why does Krishna come as the deities? Why does he come? Because Krishna is well aware that you and I are suffering in the material world. And he's very kind to us. He wants to give us the opportunity to associate with him and free ourselves from birth and death by giving us the opportunity to serve him. In a way that's very accessible. He's not a foreigner. He's not a foreigner. He's right here. He's local. Very local. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada installed various deities in different parts of the world. You know, he installed the deities, the first Radha Krishna deities in London. And you know what they named them? Radha Landanishwara, right? So here we have, Krishna has many names. You have Sri Sri Radha Sharad Bihari, but you could also say Sri Sri Radha Philadelphia Ishwara. Yeah. Because he's coming here for us. Yeah. And he knows that we're suffering. You and I are suffering. We're suffering birth, death. And I was listening to Prabhupada was giving a talk. He called it in 1968 in Los Angeles, the Manifesto of Krishna Consciousness. Manifesto of Krishna Consciousness. It used to be printed in a little book. And there he says, despite all of the material advancement of civilization, this is in 1968, people are suffering, and there's more and more suffering. And that was 1968. And since then, there's been a great deal of more advancement. Back then, there were no cell phones. There were no computers. Or that's just the beginning of the computers, right? So many developments have come since then. And you know what? There's more chaos now, more suffering, more disturbance now, isn't it? Yep. Yes. It's true. It's a fact. So Lord Krishna, knowing that the soul cannot be happy making arrangements for pleasure within the material world, comes in various ways. And one way he comes as the deities, just to give you and me the opportunity to serve him. Srila Prabhupada installed these deities in different cities around the world, following in the footsteps of great acharyas, to give the local population the opportunity to reciprocate with Krishna. Otherwise, why take the trouble to do this? This isn't something that Srila Prabhupada made up. But Lord Chaitanya and his followers, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they established temples in Vrindavan, Govindaji Temple, Madan Mohan Temple. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur established 64 temples in India around Gaudiya Math. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada is doing this. So it's not some foolish thing that we're trying to worship some stone, but this is for our benefit to make progress in spiritual life. So, the deities are named what again? Back to Sharad, the Sharad season. So, this month is especially important and especially good. Therefore, Krishna's name Sharad Bihari. And he had various pastimes during this month that are very wonderful. And therefore, our edification and our understanding. So one of the first pastimes Lord Krishna had during this month, which you might know, that's one reason we also call it Damodar, was the pastime of Damodar Leela. I don't know if you know the background of this, but it's very interesting. We only have like half an hour, so we'll go very quickly over some of the ideas. But what happened was, And each of these pastimes that Krishna exhibited, and we can't cover them all because they're unlimited, but each of the pastimes that he exhibited during the Damodar Leela, you can find examples that illustrate it in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. So we'll follow this. Okay. So there were some rich kids. Their names were, they're tough for us to name. Nalu, Kuber, and Manigriva. Their father was the treasurer, big treasurer, not on Wall Street, but Anyways, they had that. And what happens usually with kids when they get, they get everything they want without. They get spoiled, right? So these guys were spoiled. They started running around and getting intoxicated, right? They got intoxicated and they were kind of playing naked with some girlfriends. So along comes Narad Muni. And Narad Muni sees these guys and the girls cover up, and they don't cover up. So he thinks, what is this? This is nonsense. So you know what he does? He curses them. To become naked. They're naked now. Okay, you want to be naked? You can live as trees. But in the backyard of a place where Nanda Maharaj is going to live many years hence. So this gives us many important lessons already. Many important lessons. One is opulence, material wealth. People come to the United States because it's a wealthy place, but material wealth makes you intoxicated. The verse in Bhagavad Gita, I don't know if you know it. Bhogaisvarya prasaktanam tayapa vichachechasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhao navithiyate. For those people, us, who are too attached to material opulence, the resolute seriousness and determination to have devotional service to the Lord does not take place. I work sometimes with people who have addiction problems, and it's very funny because usually, they think that they know exactly how much to drink, and they can still drive. They call it a buzz, right? And you know what? They're all wrong. They get in accidents anyway, because they don't realize how much they really are intoxicated when they get the little buzz. So the same thing applies to us. Do you follow? We get carried away with our material involvement, and we forget about the real business of life, which is becoming Krishna conscious. Anyway, that's one thing. So these souls who are in the bodies of highly elevated beings, rich men's sons, they transfer it into other bodies. So that gives us the idea that this one life you have isn't everything. And that what happened was they were in the body of trees, and it's not a very pleasant body as in a tree. They have to stand out there in the rain and the cold and the winter, the summer, heat. But Krishna, Nanda Maharaj's house was there, and one day Krishna was going to get some butter. He was stealing some butter from a butter pot that was on the roof, and he cracked the butter pot. He was giving the butter to the monkeys, and the monkeys were very happy with the butter. But Mother Yashoda was coming, and she saw this, and so he ran away, and she tied him around his waist to a wooden grinding border as his punishment. So then Krishna pulled that, when Mother Yashoda wasn't watching, he crawled and pulled that wooden mortar between the two trees, broke them down, and immediately these two demigods, by the touch and hand of Krishna, were freed from their life as trees and became devotees of God. So this is another important lesson. In touch with the great devotees of the Lord, even if it seems like it's something negative. They were cursed, right? It can give you amazing benefit. Because even though they were cursed, they were in the backyard of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, this is one important pastime. There are many. Another important pastime in Sharat season. Krishna, when he was 7 years old, his father was arranging for a sacrifice because they were cowherd people. and they were also farming. And so farming was really important to have regular rains. And so they were arranging for a sacrifice for the demigod Indra, because he provides the rains. So Lord Krishna, even though he's a boy of, how old was he? 7, thank you. 7, he said, no. No need to worship Indra. Let's just worship Govardhan Hill. So he was so sweet in his talk that the cowherd men finally agreed. I'm making it very short. Finally agreed. And they made a big sacrifice for Govardhan Hill. And they made all of these preparations. We call it Annakut, right? All these wonderful different preparations to offer to Govardhan Hill. Then Krishna himself incarnated as Govardhan Hill to accept the offerings. Indra found out about it, and you know what? He got mad, and he tried to murder the inhabitants of Vrindavan, to kill them. How? Hurricanes, floods, But Krishna very simply and dexterously lifted the hill Govardhan above his head with his little finger of his left hand and protected all the residents of Vrindavan. What, and the cows and the calves. What lesson can you get here from what Bhagavad Gita verse do you find from this? Yepi anya devata bhakta yajanti shraddhayanvita. You know this verse? Very nice verse in Bhagavad Gita. Yepi anya devata bhakta. What is offered to other gods? Anya devata bhakta. Even with faith. You give with faith. Tepi mam eva konteya is really meant for me. Tepi mam eva konteya yajanti avidi purvakam. But is offered improperly. Avidi purvakam. Offered improperly. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, in the Christian religion, they say God is a jealous God. You know this? In the Vaishnava religion, God, we follow the Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, but he's not jealous. But he gives you good advice. He gives you good advice. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitrivita. If you want to go to the demigods, then worship the demigods. But if you want to come to my supreme abode, you worship me. And that was shown in the Govardhan Leela. So these are Damodar, Govardhan, and let's see if I can. And the next year, after 8 years old, during the full moon night, next year after Govardhan, during the Sharad Purnima, Lord Krishna began holding an evening dance with the young cowherd girls, gopis. That was so incredible that the demigods came in their airplanes to watch. I know you've heard of Dancing with the Stars. This is much better. This is the big dance. It's true. So, we'll talk a little bit about that. So in the Nectar Devotion, it is said that pure devotional service means doing devotional service only for Krishna's pleasure, but not for anything else, not for your own separate pleasure, is the only means to attain Krishna. And it's very difficult to achieve, very difficult to achieve. Without serious endeavor, it is not possible. It is also noted there in the Nectar Devotion that in the Kartik month, within the Sharad season, it's the favorite month of Krishna, and that it's mentioned that even if you're not a very serious devotee, like we were just talking, even if you're not a very serious devotee, if you render service to Krishna during the Kartik month, especially in the area of Mathura, one's material desires will be quickly extinguished, and you'll get ready access to the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. So, because of the special opportunity of this Kartik month, many devotees make plans to increase their service. Sometimes people make arrangements to eat only once a day or do some fasting, take only fruits, etc. That's very nice. Very nice. However, the most important service that we have to increase in this Kartik month is hearing and chanting about Krishna. in the association of devotees. What do we call this ISKCON? Hare Krishna movement, right? You call it the Hare Krishna movement. Why? Because the essential, most important practice of the devotees is to hear and chant and have congregational chanting of the Lord's name and the Lord's glories. Most important. So you can do many other different services, but this service is the highest, best. So I would suggest to you in this Kartik month, take advantage of it. So it's very nice that you're coming here on Sunday. Yes, come every Sunday, but come more than once a week during the Kartik month. And when you come, engage in chanting the holy names of the Lord. That's what we do. We do here every evening. Especially on Wednesday evening, there's kirtan. And Thursday, there's readings also here. So you can, during this month. I'll tell you that when we used to have we tried it again this summer, but we had, in the old days, we had a summer camp for kids. We were running a Sunday school. And the kids would come on Sunday, and I don't know if you ever had this experience, but they'd come on Sunday, and they'd put on an Indian face. They would speak with a little Indian accent among themselves, even among themselves. And, they put on but as soon as they got outside, they were back to where they were. So we noticed that. So it's really important that, it's not just something superficial, but Krishna consciousness should be something that's deep. So we decided we have a summer camp where we can expose them to Krishna consciousness day in and day out, so it would really, show a change in their consciousness. So we did that. So that is the same idea as the Kartik month. You follow. You follow. More immersion in Krishna consciousness. Okay. So we were talking about the third thing, the rasa dance during the Shraddha season, and the gopis and Srimati Radharani, who participated in that rasa dance, are the epitome of pure selfless devotion to Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, who's the founder of this Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, is Krishna in the mood of those gopis. In the mood of those gopis. So every evening during the Shraddha season, the gopis would give up so many of their responsibilities, and what would they go? Dance with Krishna, right? Every evening. Every evening. They were just young girls. I'm sure they had homework. Isn't it? Isn't it? They had family responsibilities. They had to churn butter and so many other things. But you know what? They had a different priority. Their first priority was serving, satisfying Krishna. Number one priority, beyond everything else. So this is the example from Bhagavad Gita when we say, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshayami. They were the example of giving up all other duties just to focus on satisfying Krishna. So this is the thing to remember in Shraddha season, the Shraddha Purnima. That this can be night after night, at least for this month. Make it our pure priority. One of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Prabhupada, a German scholar, used to look at visited different temples in India. He went to various demigod temples and stuff. And in many of the temples, there's, Kali killing demons and stuff like that. He said, he could understand that Krishna must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he doesn't have to do anything. He's just enjoying playing his flute. Right? So that must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you look carefully, it's not only Krishna smiling, but you know who's smiling also? Srimati Radharani. They're both smiling. Srimati Radharani is smiling because she is working with you and all of us to please Krishna, and Krishna is appreciating that very nicely. So this is something to remember in this month. Increase your service to Krishna this month if you can. increase your service to Krishna this month if you can. There's a nice saying, I'm taking it from one of the ex-presidents of the United States. It's kind of the motto, could be the motto for the month of Kartik. Yeah. Ask not. Ask not what Krishna can do for you. Ask what you can do for Krishna. Okay. Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Vishnugada prabhu ki
Jai.